right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. This is episode 8. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, I didn't know you guys were going to post another video. What do you guys have to talk about? The season's put on hold. What's going on? Well, we got good news for you. We have 4 or 5 topics that we can just generally talk about that might have been a shorter question of the day that we're actually going to dive deeper into. Go a little bit more in depth since we have the time to do it. And then starting next week for 3 or 4 weeks, depending on if we can get confirmation, we will have guest designated players, which is actually really cool because they're not just, people that we know. We are going to be interviewing a member of the Siege, which is the Inter Miami supporter section. We are going to be interviewing the Forward Madison social media manager. We'll be interviewing a player, a person who played in the academy system in England, who can talk to us a little bit about the differences between England and America and how soccer works over there and kind of the things that we might need to do to make some changes. And then, am I missing anybody else? I don't think so. I think those are the 3 we have confirmed right now.
Yeah, as of right now, that's it.
Good. So, even though League is down for a little bit, Scarf of the Week is not. So, let's get right into it. Connor, skip. Oh, we're actually going to skip you? Fine.
I mean, unless you want to see my RSL jersey.
That's nice. I like that.
See, I don't like that kit. We've talked about this already. I don't like that kit. The longer I look at it, the more I hate it.
You're just a hater.
Sure. That's what you want to say. Adam, what do you got?
I've got the American Outlaw Rochester branch USA scarf that I got when the World Cup was going on. When I was up at school in Rochester.
Oh, up at the much less superior E8 school? Yeah. I'm surprised. I didn't know there was a branch in Rochester. I would have looked into it when I was up there, but yeah. I was busy doing other things, like almost winning E8 championships, getting closer than you ever did.
We won, excuse me.
Oh, yeah? Put that shirt on, I dare you.
Nope.
Never. I am rocking just another, not generic, but one of my Red Bull scarves from the wall. Because I'm running out of scarves and I'm trying not to duplicate, but it is getting mucho difficult. So, moving right along, we are going to go ahead and get right into our first debate topic, which Adam is going to moderate and Connor and I are going to chat about.
So we'll start with Connor. Connor, why do you think that the MLS needs a promotion relegation system?
I think it's pretty simple. If you want to get taken seriously around the world, you're going to need promotion relegation. That's, I think, one of the main points that a lot of people dog on MLS about is the fact that it's just like it's built like any other American sport. You go through regular season, then playoffs, and then that's your champion, rather than just promotion relegation and whoever has the best regular season wins. I think I talked about this maybe in the first episode a little bit, and one other thing that I think could be a cool idea with promotion relegation would just be maybe forcing teams to spend more. If you don't spend them, obviously you would have to change financial things. There's obviously so many rules that would limit people from spending at the moment. But if you change things, promotion relegation might get teams to spend some money, because if they don't, then they're going to get relegated, and that could lead to a lot more financial difficulties. So I think it would be beneficial to kick some owners into gear, such as Kraft for New England.
Good luck.
Yeah. Andrew, why do we not need it? Why is the league perfectly great the way it is?
See, what's really cool is I've made this argument 7 times, so I didn't even need to write anything down about this. I have this memorized at this point. I think Pro Rel would be great. The issue is we can't do it yet. Reason one why I think Pro Rel is great, Red Bull would have 3 titles right now. And it would be great because Supporters Shield would be the title, there would be no playoffs, and we wouldn't have to worry about people saying, but you didn't win the cup. However, as I've mentioned multiple times before, financially it's not there. You're looking at teams that are putting millions of dollars into their teams. Chicago, Columbus, the fight to stay in Columbus. I use those two as the examples because they kind of stand out the most as to how much they put in versus where they are in terms of team. And even you look at New York's, both New York's are struggling in terms of fan attendance and kind of engagement on their team in general, right? But if you are putting that much money into a team and basically breaking even, I think Adam and I talked about revenues roughly a few weeks ago, and we talked about kind of teams that are breaking even, teams that are making money, and a lot of teams are losing money. Now, you take those teams that are losing money, relegate them into a second league that isn't getting the TV rights, isn't getting the branding deals, isn't getting enough money to put, ads out in the street, TV ads, radio ads, things like that, social media ads. All that money goes away, which means your fan engagement decreases, your attendance decreases, people stop buying your merchandise, people stop buying tickets to your games. You cut your attendance in half at least, right? You're going from we'll say minimum 13,000 down to maximum 7.5, and that right there cuts your revenue. And at that point, you're going to have owners like Robert Kraft who are going to say, "See ya, I'm out. There's no reason to be a part of this anymore. I'm losing money. It's not worth." And because of that, you're going to have teams that end up folding, especially in major markets like New York, for example. If people be relegated and somebody didn't take over that team, Red Bull gone, and there's no getting them back. Like, you could start up another one, but it's gone. And that's what's going to happen to teams like Columbus and Chicago, where if they go down, and I'll even throw Colorado in there right now, they're getting better, but their attendance was poor as well. If Colorado went down, their owner's out. Like, I was surprised that their owner was in for so long. Their owner's gone. Once their owner's gone, you need to either have the fan support to buy it, and their fans were pissed off for the last 4 years because they sucked. So nobody's going to step in and buy it, which means the team's just going to fold. And then what you're going to do, you're going to see that happen to a ton of different teams who are going to fold in the second division. You won't have enough teams to sustain the second division. And then when teams start getting relegated down there, they just start folding. The teams that come up go back down. They're the only ones who are going to stay afloat when they go back down. But you're going to end up losing a ton of teams, which is going to end up, diluting your talent pool, right? You're going to take the good players from the good teams, they're going to leave because their team's gone and they're not going to want to stay there for another risk. They'd rather do it in England, where if they go down, at least they can survive, right? They're not looking for a new team. Or they're just going to stay up and they're not going to be happy because I lost my train of thought on this one. They're going to either stay up and kind of like be unhappy because they're uncomfortable with the fact that people don't really care. And that's where it all really comes down to, right? Is at the end of the day, if your team went down, it's very easy to go ahead and say, you know what? Forget it. And I don't need to watch this team anymore. Maybe when they go back up, I'll watch them again. You know that you've got a ton of people at Red Bull who will do that. NYC will do that. Atlanta's probably the only one you can say that they wouldn't do that. And FCC maybe, because they have that strong USL following already. But I struggle to find any older teams. So I'll even cut Atlanta and FCC out of that, right? Older teams. Look at the pre-NYC Orlando era. Any of those teams who will hold up, maybe Seattle, Portland, but the majority of those teams, they go down, they're gone because they just won't have the money to support themselves, and that's why we can't do it. I think it'd be great, but you need to give it time for this culture. It's a cultural thing. It's not we should just do it because of the number of team things.
So I'll raise just another quick question about that subject before we move on. And I don't want to get super into this because when we have Jason Klein on from Forward Madison, I want to talk way more in depth about this. But when I was doing research for that, the USL Championship, so I guess the league directly below MLS, if we want to call it that, has 34 teams, I believe. It's 2 divisions of 17. And then the USL League One, which I guess is under that, has 10. So you have a league of 34 and a league of 10. Do you guys think if we combine those two, left MLS completely the way it is, and had a 44 team 2 league with promotion relegation in there, do you think that would be kind of a working first step toward eventually having a full promotion relegation system?
So let me just clarify the question, then I'm going to let Connor answer first, because I just talked for 7 minutes straight. Are you talking about like an MLS 1, MLS 2? Like let the league expand to 40 teams and then have 2 MLSs?
So that's part of the issue, is that MLS has so many damn teams in it right now, with the expansion only looking to add more. So at the time, as of right now, the goal is 30 teams in the league, which seems
they're gonna have it. They already have 30 teams committed.
Right, but minimum right now in the MLS, let's say there's 30 teams, which is 6 more than any other league in the world that I can name. I think England League 2 has 24. I think that's the next biggest one. That's too many to have a single one division standing like an England or a Bundesliga does. Yeah, that's too many teams to do. I don't know how the 2 division 15 team would work with promotion relegation. That would be something you'd have to figure out once everything was kind of set up. But doing the USL Championship, we could combine that with the League One. We'd have 2 22-team divisions, so certainly more manageable. For the majority, from what I could find with research, those club sizes, yes, there are much bigger clubs and much smaller clubs in that range, but I think it's closer in size, where if one team goes down, they're not just gonna suddenly disappear into oblivion. You have an Indy 11, for example, who plays at Lucas Oil Stadium that can hold, what Atlanta Stadium can hold, and you have a Forward Madison who can hold like 5,000. And then there's obviously the many teams in between. So I think that would be an interesting kind of step to see if it could work before we look at how we would implement that in the MLS.
Is that like is that pro rel starting with like USL as the highest? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the USL Championship would be the high, like the top division for those level teams, and then you'd only get relegated into the League One, because there's such a number disparity between a 34-team 2-division championship league and a 10-team League One. Like, that seems weird to me. So having 2 22-team divisions seems like an easier compromise. So you have those sense. 2 teams kind of flip-flop promotion relegation between them, and then eventually MLS would be the ideal kind of next step top division for those championship teams that get promoted or win the league.
I think that makes sense. There's like as you said, it's just getting to too many teams being in the league. 30 committed already, and I'm sure many more in the plans. I mean, as you said, there's so many teams in USL. All of them could possibly make the jump up to MLS at some point. And if you combine what's already in MLS and the USL, that's a lot of teams. And you definitely can't do that all in one league. Even if you split them into 2 conferences, that's still so many teams. And it's just getting like super diluted at that point. Mm-hmm. And I think the lower level tier could be a good test for it. I don't think that would change like attendance much if they like drop to the lower tier in that case. So that can definitely be something to maybe see if fans like that more. Maybe see if attendance goes up from that. And then I would also be curious to see if teams start to get more aggressive in terms of trying to build a better team. I mean, obviously, it's definitely a lot tougher for them to do it in USL, which would, even if it's still not all connected, it would definitely still be considered to be below MLS. But Yeah, I think that could also give us some light on who are the teams that are capable of making it in MLS if they do eventually merge everything together. But it feels like too many teams. It feels like they're just kind of diluting from each other already with just having everybody in the league. Like I was trying to take a look at some of the attendance numbers for LA because LAFC came in, and from 2018 to 2019, LA Galaxy saw a 5% decrease in their attendance. So you're taking people away from other fan bases by adding in all these teams. I'm sure you're grabbing some new people, but if you're not having this pro rel, then you're starting to like grab each other's fan bases, and it's like it's dispersing the fan base as opposed to like getting more people.
Yeah, especially once Sacramento enter the league in a few years, we'll have 4 teams in California alone. Which, I mean, if you're gonna have 4 teams in one place, California's probably one of like 3 places in the country you could do it with, like Texas, and I don't even think New York could handle it. But yeah, I agree. I will say, and this is an argument for another day, the debate could be made for fans of relegated teams. So I'll use England as an example. Yes, it's terrible when your club goes down. Yes, they lose out on millions and millions of dollars. They can't attract, the talent anymore. But from a fan's perspective, that's what fans, I don't want to say live for, but it's what they remember. It's what kind of brings those fan bases together and makes them stronger, if that makes sense. Like you'll remember when your club goes down because it's then so much better when you go back up. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could sit here for 4 hours and talk about.
So I'm going to make a closing statement here and we can move on.
Go for it.
There were I just looked this stat up right now because I missed it on my research, but out of the 20, what did we have last year? 26? Or we have 26? Yeah, 26 now.
Yeah.
So we had 24 last year?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
5 of those 24 saw increases in attendance last year, 2 of which were below 1% increases. Every other team dropped at least, the lowest I saw was Atlanta dropped by 1%, but I'm not putting in there. Seattle dropped by 1%, but I'm not really looking at that either because they both were over 100% of their capacity, right?
Right.
The smallest focused drop was Orlando City at 4.6% of their attendance from the year before. You go down, that number's going to increase exponentially. You've got Minnesota who dropped 17.5% because they changed locations, so that's also understandable. But Red Bull Arena is looking at 7.1%. They've got the lowest outside of Chicago Fire, the lowest stadium sellout rate in the league.
Yeah, Red Bull Arena.
Red Bull go down, Chicago go down. Their team isn't going to follow them. It doesn't matter how close you bring them together. You know what I mean? And the owners don't care because they know that they're already hemorrhaging money because their team's not bringing in the fans. Once those fans go, it's over. So I'm saying not yet. You have to be patient with it.
Yeah. I will make the excuse for Red Bull Arena that it is in the middle of nowhere.
It's not an excuse. They knew that going in.
I mean, yes.
I'm gonna bag on them here because they knew that going in.
Yes.
And they chose not to do anything about it. You have ample land to build restaurants, hotels, bring people in for other reasons than that, and they chose not to do it, and that's on them. And that's the bottom.
Some of like that direct surrounding area right across the street from the stadium is fairly nice compared to what it used to be, but
and it's getting better. But
yes, but no, it's a pain to get.
It's been bad for over 10 years. Like they don't. The reason their attendance sucks is because it's been bad for 10 years.
Right.
Teams been good. Area's been awful.
Right. And Andrew and I can confirm that it is horrendous to get to from Long Island.
Do not get me started.
It only took us 4 hours instead of an hour and a half.
Moving on before I start screaming.
All right, I'm in charge now, boys. and I want to talk about why
Oh,
or
look
why
at the
not
time I need to go.
the U.S. men's national team is going to win a World Cup in the next 20 years. And I'm going to ask you, Andrew, why are they going to do it?
This is a tough one, because genuinely I don't believe they will. But if you're looking on the bright side and you're trying to find the good in it, our youth pipeline's really good. Pulisic, if he can stay healthy, is one of the best players in the world, and that's not an argument. That's a statement. Our central mid-core right now is getting very, very good. Tyler Adams is the best number 8 in the world. Again, not an argument, it's a fact. Weston McKennie is one of the best box-to-box midfielders you'll find, both of which are kicking out Michael Bradley, which means we're imminently getting better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm okay with that.
Our outside back depth is getting really good. Reggie Cannon, Jalen Lindsay, Yedlin if he's healthy, and a bunch of other people you can put back there. Kyle Duncan, and I know people are going to think it's a homer shout. Kyle Duncan is very good both sides of the ball if he cleans up his mistakes, and he's 20 years old. You give him time, and he will be a U.S. national team player. Goalkeeper, Zach Steffen, he's going to start for Man City soon. I know. But I did see something that he's getting called in to be the backup, which means he's getting league games, which means he's playing for Man City, which is still fantastic. Paul Arriola seemed to have some really good sparks under Berhalter when he was healthy. You've got, on the other side, Tyler Boyd had some flashes at the Gold Cup. Our real main issue is striker, right? And we've talked about that already. And I know that's Adam's first point is we don't have a striker. And
We have Josh Sargent. What do you mean?
I was gonna say, Connor, your Golden Boot boy doesn't count.
No, what do you mean?
He doesn't count.
Okay.
But listen, we're getting younger and better at every position, which means so long as we can keep the group together, the group healthy, and Berhalter can figure out a system that makes it all work, there is a chance that over the next 20 years, U.S. can compete and win a World Cup.
All right, Adam, bring some sanity back into this conversation and tell us why they're not going to do it.
So when I was doing research for this, I couldn't find any info on how we did at the 2018 World Cup. I don't know why that. Oh wait, no, because we didn't make it. We suck so much that we couldn't qualify for the tournament because Trinidad is apparently better than we are.
Don't start with me.
Hey, it's fact. Don't blame me. If you look at the favorites, who arguably are the favorites to win the next World Cup, you have England, France, Brazil, Belgium, Germany. I'm sure I'm missing other teams, but the obvious countries to win. These teams get through qualifying with their eyes closed. England can play their B team. They're winning, 10 straight games like it's nothing. The U.S. and Mexico should be the two teams in our qualifying group to walk through qualifying without an issue due to just size and talent pool alone. Mexico seemed to do it without much issue. The U.S. apparently, again, can't beat Trinidad. We lose to Ghana at World Cups, and it's not a knock on Ghana because I happen to like their team. But these are the teams that if we want to be taken seriously as a country, we need to start performing against. Another reason is our best athletes just don't play the sport.
Oh, don't give me that one. Don't give me that.
And I agree. I
hate
think
you.
that's the main. This isn't the main point. It's just something that I thought was worth mentioning. But I would be curious to see someone like a LeBron James who grew up playing soccer with his athleticism. I'm not saying he's the difference maker or what, but if, again, looking at all those other countries, their priority is soccer. Ours is nowhere near soccer. So I think that has to change. I can talk at nauseum about our governing body, but
I'm not even going to touch the governing body. What I'm going to say is you sound like a complete Euro snob right now.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you
I
sound
agree with
like.
Adam on that.
Probably. But
that is the single worst argument I could ever hear. about why our national team isn't good.
I'm not done yet. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness.
So look at our women's team. They've played in I don't know how many World Cups, and the lowest they've ever finished is third place. They've won 4 of them. They've come runner-up, I think, 2 or 3 times, and then they've come third a couple times. They have never failed to qualify for the tournament, and yes, it's very different, the qualifying process, and there are many more teams in the men's game. That's another argument for another day. But they continuously dominate teams. There's a clear plan. When their manager left after winning the World Cup in Pia Sundhage, we had another guy come straight in who knew the system, who knew, how he wanted to play, and they continue to just steamroll over everyone. I mean, they're currently like 8-0 to start the year. They've conceded like 0 goals. Like, they're unreal. The U.S. men's national team has, in my eyes, not much of a plan, if any. I mean, we've chopped and changed managers. As soon as they lose one game, it's our fans want them out. We can't seem to agree on who our best players are. And I know Andrew said Christian Pulisic is world class and the best player in the world. I can tell you, and this isn't a knock on him, I, as a Chelsea fan, will support him until he no longer plays for us. But he's overhyped because he's American.
No, he's not overhyped.
He's very good.
You're upset because your training staff can't keep him healthy.
That's beside the point. We can't keep anyone healthy.
Is it now?
We can't keep anyone healthy. We have like half our team injured right now. That's fine.
So you're saying if N'Golo Kante goes down with an injury, he's not one of the best center defensive mids in the world?
Not if he's injured. But no, that's not why. So the reason I want Christian Pulisic to succeed at Chelsea. I want him to lead our national team for the next 10 years, whatever. Fine. The reason I say he's overhyped is because he became the most expensive American player when he signed for Chelsea for 60, 70 mil, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. The reason his price tag was so high was because he was American. It's not like he was putting up messy numbers the season we signed him. He was doing well, but, it's because he was the most talented American and the face of our national team. Dortmund then signed Julian Brandt and Thorgan Hazard for a combined 40 mil. So 2 players who put up equally as good numbers the season before for 20 mil less. So they made 20 mil, brought in an extra player, and are arguably better after losing him. If I go to any coach in the world and I said, you can have 2 players of equal talent, 20 mil, or you can have 1 player who will put up the same numbers.
You're looking at, so you're also not taking into account the potential out of players, right? You already knew what you were getting with those 2 players at Dortmund. You didn't know what Pulisic, when healthy, can grow into. And they kind of had a feeling, which is why the price tag was so high. Also, England is notorious for overbuying or overpaying for players. Sure. That's also something to take into consideration. Yeah, but here's the one thing nobody's talked about and the reason why men's national team can push. Gio Reyna.
Actually, I have his name on my thing right now.
Gio Reyna, Pulisic. Still, our attacking lineup going forward is great, right? Serginho Dest is another one I didn't add into the outside back ranks. I was trying to think of his name, and I couldn't find it on my sheet. Serginho Dest, one of the best outside back prospects in the world. Cameron Carter-Vickers with Aaron Long, Miazga, if he's still playing and going. Chris Richards, Bayern Munich, came from the Red Bull Academy. Yep. All these players, Red Bull make the world takes, right?
We seem to have. Sorry to cut you off, but we seem to have players that just sprout up out of nowhere, and it's maybe because I don't necessarily follow younger U.S. national team players as much as I do every other country because they're more prominently featured. But someone posted an article of a U.S. player training with the Barcelona first team that I've never heard of. Like we just have players like all over the place.
Granted, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's just Barcelona taking a flyer because they put an academy on Long Island and they hadn't produced anything substantial from it. So I think that's them just saying, here's the best player out of our academy. Let's see if he gets.
Yeah, and I've seen those academy teams and they're not anything special. It's just
Yeah.
pay a lot of money to wear a Barcelona jersey when you play.
My cousin played for them, and
Yeah.
they weren't. Granted, he was 12, so it's not like they were
Right.
killing kids.
But I will say our best players also don't play in the MLS, which I think doesn't help us. All these, the Christian Pulisic's, the Gio Reynas are all going abroad when they're 14, 15, and then breaking through rather than coming up through an MLS academy and then, dominating MLS for years to come. I think as a league, MLS should try their best, and it's an impossible goal, but they should try to keep, those talents. Like Matt Miazga, yes, he's playing in England. Yes, he's playing in the championship, but when Chelsea signed him, he was never going to play for us. It's fact.
I know. I made that comment I made that comment already.
Yeah, we were talking about it when they signed him, and
Yep.
we both agreed. But for me, you could have stayed on a Red Bull team, and he's already kind of a cult hero, but add him to that team with Tim Parker, Aaron Long, that's a solid back three.
Oh, dude, Miazga stays with
Tyler Adams
yeah. In front of him. We win MLS Cup, no question.
Absolutely. That's what I mean.
100%. With BWP firing on all cylinders, no hesitation.
But that's what I mean, is having all these Americans spread all out all over the world, yes, is great because they're, playing in all these different leagues and getting all these experiences, but they're not playing together. They only play together, 4 or 5 times out of the year when they're at national team camp. And then it's like, all right, how do we, get used to playing really quickly in order to beat these teams who, I'll use Germany as the example, half their team plays for Bayern and are playing week in, week out together.
Yeah, no, that's an argument. And again, there are a lot of factors that play into this, right? You have to make this league desirable for them to stay. Right. So you need to be able to say, hey, we can pay you what they're going to pay you over there. You're going to get the same exposure over here as you would over there. There's a lot of things tie into it. And the main thing, and what kind of made me tie this whole thing in, the reason Red Bull lost to Atlanta in the playoffs was not because we were the worst team. It was because our coach made awful decisions. The biggest thing with the U.S. men's national team, they need a coach to make good decisions, right? You can have all the best players in the world. I'm looking at this list of potential really good youth American players, whatever. It doesn't matter how many, you can have 100 of them on that list. I don't care. If you don't have a coach who puts them in the right system or gets them to get the results that they need, it doesn't matter. So that's the other big thing I'm going to put on there. I know I'm supposed to be arguing for. So I think Greg Berhalter is going to figure it out, and in the next 20 years we are going to win one. There's my twist on.
And Connor, I'm sorry to say this, but my vote is Frank de Boer. I think I think that would be a good fit.
That's awful. No, he isn't.
Did you see the team he fielded against Club America? You want that? He's going to play like...
Not only he starts off every team that he plays with, he starts off without scoring goals.
Well, he don't score goals anyway. It's fine. That doesn't change.
So what is he going to be better than Berhalter for?
Ideally, I wanted Tata Martino, but he's otherwise busy.
So that's an out.
Yes, he can.
That's a reason. No, that's a reason that he didn't get hired, because he didn't speak English well enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
what about maybe like Wagner?
Yeah.
Who?
The one that coached Huddersfield.
Oh.
Yeah, David Wagner. He's at Schalke right now, I believe.
Yeah. Listen. There are tons of coaches that we can get, but you have to find one and stick with it. We've been through so many coaches over the last 3 years, right?
Bring in the special one.
Trying to find the person that fit best. Who?
That would be the most entertaining national team I think I've ever seen. I don't care how badly
Mourinho?
It would be incredible. I would watch every game. It wouldn't work.
Bro, he'll say one thing, somebody will get upset, and he'll just kick him off. And by the time he's done, he'll have 4 players left.
Fine. I'm here for it.
All right.
But yeah,
we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah, we'll move on. That's why we're winning the World Cup in 2026. Not even 20 years. I'll say 2026, because I'm going to be at the World Cup winning game. I've already got money getting saved up for it. It'll be great.
See France win again?
No. All right, let's move on, because I don't want to talk about the men's national team being good just to see them be bad again.
That's fair.
News this week. 50-team Super League. MLS and Liga MX. Little background on this one. Don Garber, good old Donnie Don, went ahead and met with Liga MX officials to talk about a 50-team Super League, 30 teams from MLS, so the 30 that we'd have by 2022, and 20 teams from Liga MX. They'd have to find new teams. I think they're only at 16 right now. Question mark, maybe? Yes.
Yes.
I think it's 16 or 18, so they got to bring more teams up. Thoughts on this, Adam?
Oh, I'm all here for it.
I hate you.
I think I'm not, but I'll make the argument for it. So yeah, the plan is 30 MLS teams, which we've already established is going to be a thing. Ideally, they want 20 Liga MX teams. The plan is to merge the two in 2026, so just in time for the World Cup. 4 divisions, 12, 13 teams, which is certainly much more manageable than the, one division 30 team MLS that we were talking about before. Why this could work is that the US, Canada, and Mexico are already hosting the World Cup together. That bid's already, been accepted. I can't wait. So FIFA kind of already has some sort of idea on how a tri-country competition would work. I think it would allow soccer in this country to take that kind of next step. It would introduce MLS fans to Liga MX and those teams and that culture down there, and vice versa. So it would see Liga MX fans, introduced to Orlando. Well, that's a bad example. Or I don't know, a Montreal, teams that they wouldn't necessarily see unless they play in the odd CCL game that no one watches except us. I think the playoff system would be probably the most difficult aspect of combining leagues. I had a couple ideas on how this could run, and let me know your guys' thoughts. It could be similar to how Liga MX do promotion relegation, so like a 2-year kind of playoff cycle. First year, points work as normal. So, just like the MLS does now, end of the season, top 8 teams or whatever get seeded, and they have a playoff to determine the winner. That'll be, I don't know, we'll make some random name up for that trophy. And then the second year, we would have a combined 2-year point total. So you have to be good both years. It encourages teams to not just settle for mediocrity. Orlando, I'm looking at you. And then you'd have a combined kind of point total seeding for the second year for another playoff, but it would be based on how you've done over the past 2 years. Part of this is if the MLS is dead set on let's just add teams forever and ever and ever, we'll have every city will have its own MLS team, and we'll have a 7,000 team league. I don't care at this point. You'd have to implement some sort of promotion relegation. I think that's the obvious step, and we've already spoken about it. I wouldn't be surprised if Garber wanted 50 teams in the league, but there aren't 50 places in the MLS that could support a franchise. We're already looking at 4 in California. No one's going to put a franchise in Idaho or North Dakota because I don't think people actually live there. I think it's a made-up place. But that's why teams like Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver are a welcome part of our league. Those places can support franchises. They're very successful, and they add a different element to the MLS. So I think adding Liga MX could pretty much do the same thing. Andrew, convince me why I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not here to convince you why you're wrong, Connor is, but what I will say...
Oh, that's fair. Connor, convince me why I'm wrong.
what I will say is I think you make interesting points, but I think
Thanks.
The playoff system is not the issue to me, because I don't know if they'd even have a playoff system because there's so many teams. Where do you draw the cutoff? How do you do it? That's just thoughts on me. But Connor, what else do you have to add?
So it would be a 5-team from each division.
Of what, 10 divisions?
4 four divisions, 12 teams, I think, is how they wanted it to be organized.
It doesn't make sense. You can't do that.
Why not?
That's
Because
48
4
teams.
doesn't go into 50.
I said 12 to 13.
Oh, okay.
So you want 12 in one, 13 in another, 12 in one, 13 in another.
Yeah, what do you want from me? I'm not Don Garber. I'm not running this.
Connor, go ahead and tell him why he's wrong.
This shouldn't even be a debate. This is a terrible idea. This is horrible. We're already talking about 30 teams being too many in MLS. Now you want to do 50. That's just insane.
It's America, dude.
Even if you split it into divisions, it's still way too many teams challenging for one title. The only way that this could possibly work is if you have promotion and relegation. And then even if you put that in, I still think that this is a terrible idea because the players are going to hate this, first of all, because the amount of traveling that they're going to have to do is insane. You're going to have to go across borders, both directions. You're going to have to go to Canada. You're going to have to go to Mexico. That's going to take forever because every time you're going to fly to Mexico or back, you have to go through customs and all that stuff. If you're flying, if you're driving, then still you got to go through the border and everything. It would be just a nightmare for traveling for them. They're going to be exhausted. They're going to be so tired. And then not to mention, if you have 50 teams, there's no shot you're playing every team in the league because that would just 49 games would be insane. That'd be way too many. So then you're going to have some fan bases arguing like, oh, you guys had an easier schedule because you didn't have to play these great teams that did amazing this year. And then it's like, did this team really deserve to win it? I don't know. I think it's only fair if you have a shot to play against every team. That's kind of like, that's how it is in most of the leagues. And
so just not to cut you off, but the League Two in England
I noticed
that
you
has
say
20.
a lot. Now I'm going to cut you off for a second. You say it a lot. I don't mean to cut you off, and then you cut him off anyway.
Sorry, but the England League Two has 24 teams, and everyone plays each other twice. So they play like 46 games in a season, which I agree is ridiculous, but it is something that happens.
Andrew, were you going to say something?
Nope. I was letting you guys go at it. I think the one thing that we have to put an asterisk next to is that CONCACAF needs to approve this, right? They can't just be like, ha, new league, let's go, let's have some fun with it. Because it would also have an effect on Champions League, right? How are you going to find a way to get teams in from Champions League? I mean, look at the way that, and we talked about it, right? Look at the way Champions League is already decided, right, Adam? The best losing quarterfinalist and then the second worst semifinalist, and you have all these little stipulations, right, of how to get random teams in here. Now you're going to make a 50-team Super League and find a way to get teams from all 3 countries in? It's crazy.
I want a 2,000 team World League where everyone plays everyone, and it takes 10 years to complete one league. That's the goal.
Oh my God.
If that's your goal, I'm glad you're not running my league.
Yep.
One other thing I wanted to say too was oh crap, I forgot.
That's okay. We have post editing.
What was I gonna say?
He got lost into how bad his hair looked today.
Yeah, that's it. The merging of the 2 leagues. You're gonna have to like find a way to condense rules because I'm sure Liga MX is not doing TAM and GAM, so you'd have to figure out your financial situation. Not yet. I don't think they want to conform to it. I don't think you're going to convince them.
They're looking
Connor,
to get rid of.
Connor, it's only taken you what, 6 years to figure out the difference between them? How long can it take them?
I still don't know the difference.
Yeah, still don't know.
But Liga MX was looking to get rid of promotion relegation, which is a whole big thing.
It is. I guess one point to, Adam, on his side is the fact that you're going to open up to a lot of really good talent too, right? Because Liga MX has a ton of spending power, right? Even if you're not condensing the spending ability, right? Just seeing players like Yignac and Ener Valencia, for example, Eduardo Vargas, right? Players from Tigres who can go all over the world and have made a name for themselves in Europe, coming in and playing against a team like FCC. They'll get rocked. But it'll be
great
though. So, I think it's a very interesting thought, the fact that not only that, you're also giving people, I guess, what's the right term to use it, right? Like the people who watch it on TV all the time are now going to be able to see different teams. I think Adam kind of spoke to it a little bit, but not just on TV. I don't know, Adam, if you meant like watching them on TV, like their team play a different team, but also they'll be able to watch different teams live, right? Like
Yeah.
I've seen New York City play Red Bull 4 times. I saw LA play once. I saw Vancouver play once, and I saw Chicago play once. I think that is literally the extent of my team, because it's just that's how the schedule works. That's how the games I get to go to and the games that I pick end up being. But now you're able to see them both live and on TV at all times. So
Yeah, I think that's also another problem with MLS the way it is right now is not everyone plays every team.
yeah,
I mean, there are enough games and teams in the league where everyone should play each other at least once, and then you play your division rivals, a second time.
mm-hmm. Right. And I guess one more pro that I'll give out here. You're looking at the term that I found here, because I just did a quick Google search while I was researching, and the term is cross pollination, right? So you're taking the big money market of the U.S. and Canada and giving it to Mexico, who doesn't reach a lot of people because it's mainly seen as a, I guess, lesser league that mostly is seen on this side of the world, and mainly just that country. They don't really expand out much except for me and Querétaro. Vamos los gallos. But then you're also taking the football passion in Mexico and bringing it over. So you're kind of getting a little bit of both on each side. But can you do it without 50 teams? Like, my goodness, you couldn't do it with, oh man, let's cross-pollinate these topics. Can we do a promotion relegation where the bottom half of each teams play each other? So like if we do the bottom 10 of Liga MX and the bottom 15 of MLS play against each other, then the top 15 and the top 10 play, and then there's Pro Rel mixed into there. That'd be sick.
No, because I don't want to see the bottom of Liga MX play FC Cincinnati. I think I'd claw my eyes out.
Well, and that's my point, and that goes back to my point before, right? You relegate teams, nobody's gonna want to watch them play. Man, I love how things go full circle, don't you?
It's almost like we planned it.
You know what's great is how I'm always right when it comes to these things.
Sure.
Any closing arguments, boys, or we can go on to the final question of the day.
Quick petition to add Phoenix Rising and Forward Madison to future MLS teams.
I'll sign that.
Cool.
Good.
No, Connor, take us into the question of the day.
All right. So I've been sitting on this one for a while. I've been ready to ask it, but who do you guys think is one player that should have never left MLS?
I've got two that come right off the top of my head. Adam, you smiled. I want to let you go first because I think you got it before me.
I mean, you know who I'm going to say.
I think I do, but I want to hear you say it.
It's going to be Zlatan.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I took a different spin to this.
I know what you're thinking of.
I'm thinking of 3 different players now that we were just... I was thinking started in MLS, like from, made their career in MLS or started there and then moved and failed in Europe. That's where I was going.
Oh, there's so many.
Exactly. That's why I jumped and I'm like, I know it, but I don't know which one to pick.
I'll make the quick case for Zlatan just because I've spoken at length about what he did when he came in. Dominated an LA team that without him is now 1-1 to start the year.
Oh my God, to start the year. It's been 2 games. Relax.
I'm just saying, I've given Chicharito Yoshi of the Week like 3 times in a row now.
Yes, I'm aware. you got a favorite there.
Yes, but I'll be the first one to credit Chicharito when he does something. But I think, and I've said it before, if the LA Galaxy built a team around Zlatan and actually gave him a backline that wasn't a dumpster fire, they arguably could have won MLS Cup. Or at least would have been one of the favorites too.
On that note, I don't think Zlatan cares about anybody who got brought in to play around him. He was leaving no matter what.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think, I don't think that was going to keep him anywhere. My
To a point though, because Beckham wasn't happy, and they brought in Robbie Keane. So it was like, oh, there's someone other than Landon Donovan who I can actually rely on to score. And then they destroyed everybody and won MLS Cup like easily.
yeah, but Zlatan was that. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring in a center back that's going to stop conceding goals? That didn't happen.
I mean, no, but that's the point. Is if the front office had said to him, look, these are our plans for rebuilding this team. It shouldn't be on you to score 6 goals every game because we're conceding 5. Like you just keep doing what you're doing. We'll fix the rest of the team, and you be our leader.
Interesting.
I think he would have been more inclined to stay.
My knee-jerk instinct goes to 3 Red Bulls, actually, funny enough.
Yeah,
Miazga. One we've spoken about already, Matt Miazga.
Tyler Adams.
Nope, I think because Tyler Adams didn't fail.
That's true. Tyler Adams doing well.
Old school. Both of them now play here. They came back.
There's so many. Grella.
No, Grella didn't start here.
I don't know. Go for it.
Juan Agudelo.
Oh, God.
Juan Agudelo was the wonder boy of the Red Bull Academy. He was like one of the first wonder boys of the Red Bull Academy, and then he went to Sunderland and flopped. And he went to AZ Alkmaar and flopped. And he came back to New England and flopped. So clearly, there was some step there when he was really good, and then he really wasn't. And the other one is a good friend of all of ours. Plays for the ever-loved Toronto FC.
Oh, God. Do we have to talk about him?
He is our number 1 striker right now.
Debatable.
Your number 1 striker.
He's the best striker on the roster. Don't get me started. Josie Altidore was better than Agudelo was, but I think if he stayed, and again, I think you also have to take into the fact that he was 17 years old when he was here, and the league was not where it is now.
No,
so I don't blame him. I think Agudelo should have stayed for sure. Josie's kind of on the fence. Miazga's a definite. If Miazga moved to like a Bundesliga 2 team, I'd be better off than him moving to Chelsea.
If he just moved straight to like a Reading.
Or an England 2 team, absolutely. Yeah.
So Miazga
my final answer is Juan Agudelo because his career is stagnated immensely because he left the greatest team in MLS, the New York Red Bulls. And his career flopped.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Connor.
Miazga was loaned out to like a 2nd division French team that he did okay with, and now he's on Reading. But
that's the thing, right? He was at Vitesse and he was doing well at Vitesse.
Yeah.
And then they put him to France, and he did not acclimate in France, and he got kicked out of France, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like fire him or whatever.
Yep. And he was there for like however long. Out of his contract,
and then he went to Reading and kind of picked it back up. But he should have come home and done well. And I'm thinking if Tim Parker don't work out, like Red Bull, get back on the phone, get your boy home.
Can I honorable mention DeAndre Yedlin?
No, because DeAndre Yedlin needs to be in a better league than here.
Does he though?
Yes.
It's not like he's tearing up the Premier League.
Because he's always hurt.
So play for Seattle.
Healthy.
Yeah, play for Seattle on that turf. You're gonna tear your knee.
Even when he's healthy, he's not. He's rapid. He's the fastest player I've ever seen. But that's about it.
Listen, are you asking me if Kyle Duncan is better than him? I'm not gonna open up and say yes, but I'm not also gonna say no.
Yeah.
Cone.
I was thinking Fabian Castillo. I looked him up briefly.
Awful.
Yeah, that was a mess. But ever since he went to he's at Querétaro, I think.
Querétaro.
Right yeah.
Vamos los gallos.
Yeah, but ever since he went to Turkey, it's been downhill for him.
Well, because he was a young, he was one of the first like young Central American internationals that was ever signed here. So he was like a designated player who's not 40 and can't walk. Whoa.
I know.
And everybody
And he
hyped
was,
him.
he
And
was good here.
I'm not going to say he wasn't good, but him going to Turkey, and Kyle Larin too was the same way. Like Kyle Larin was like, this is the next Canadian
Kyle
like,
Larin.
super kid. And they both went to Turkey, where we both told them like, don't go anywhere but not to Turkey, because it's not going to work out. It has never worked out. And they both went to Turkey, and they both kind of just fell off.
In Kyle Laren's defense, he was playing for Orlando, so like I don't blame him for leaving.
Oh yeah, no, I would have gone somewhere else.
But
Kyle Larin is now on loan in Belgium, while Fabian Castillo is in Querétaro. So both two players who definitely should not have left. But granted, I give them, listen, we need to be a selling league. We've talked about that already. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But if Europe calls, you go. Because the chances of being seen in Turkey and making a move to the top 5 are so much better than the chances of playing here and doing that. And if that's your dream, you go do it, man. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to. But, damn, be smart about where you're going, man. Like, if you're going to go to war.
So to all our listeners right now, clip this for when Aaron Long leaves the Red Bulls to go abroad and Andrew starts crying.
Oh, no, I'm all for Aaron Long leaving if it's the right team.
Okay, just making sure.
Because listen, when you're the captain of the national team, you've already got eyes on you, and when you win Defender of the Year, you're young-ish, young enough, and you're a good player, you're a good defender, you gotta go. And like I said, I'm not upset that Tyler Adams left. Tyler Adams had to go too. I think Kemar Lawrence had to go. Am I happy that Kemar Lawrence left? No.
I don't know if Kamar had to leave.
Kamar
that could have been fixed. We could have.
Oh no, that's definitely a front office issue.
Yeah.
But this is not a Red Bull podcast, and we won't get super far into it. But
No.
listen, if you're going to be a selling league, you need to be okay with people like that leaving. We can laugh at their misfortunes later, but you can't say no.
When Aaron Long leaves, I think we just bring Reese Buckmaster back, and we'll be fine.
I'm gonna hang up on this call because I can't listen to the slander.
That's fine. That's all we had today.
Yeah, that is it. So guys, that like Adam just said, that was it for us. Thank you for joining us on a shorter episode 8, a little bit shorter than our usual ones, but when you got no games to talk about, that's what goes on. Yeah, like I said, go ahead and subscribe to us on all the places where you get your podcasts: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, all the good places you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and interact with us. And make sure you're following, because we are having some very great special guests coming up very soon. And we would love to have you guys around to give your questions and comments to those guests. Any parting words, lads?
Stay safe.
Yeah. Send in questions for next week when we have a member of the Siege supporters on.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to ask anybody questions about the way that stuff like that works, we will have somebody on. We've already got some questions lined up, but we're always open to some fan questions. So if you're listening and you wanna go ahead and do that, reach out, and we are more than happy to provide that to you. Stay safe. Stay socially isolated. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. And until next time, this has been the Designated Players Podcast, and thanks for listening. See ya. There you go. Quick short hour.
Yep,
Stop
not bad.
recording.